You know what's funny about fantasy worlds? Everyone talks about magic. Dragons, demon kings, legendary swords. But nobody talks about the real final boss, being poor. Because in a fantasy world, if you're broke, you're not just broke. You're my village got taxed by a lord, raided by goblins, and then burned by a dragon on the same Tuesday broke. So today we're going through every level of wealth in a fantasy world. From people who own absolutely nothing, to being so powerful that gold is basically pocket lint. Let's start at the bottom. Slaves. At the absolute bottom, we have slaves, prisoners, war captives, and debt-bound workers. These people don't have money. They don't have land. They don't have freedom. They're basically treated like property. And in fantasy, this can get even worse because normal slavery apparently wasn't evil enough. So writers added magic. Now you've got cursed slaves, soul-bound servants, people controlled by collars, contracts, spells, or some ancient demon lawyer with excellent handwriting. At this level, wealth doesn't matter. You're not trying to buy a house. You're trying to escape the mine before the goblin supervisor notices you breathing too comfortably. Commoners. Now slightly above that, we have peasants and commoners. These are farmers, fishermen, woodcutters, and random villagers whose main job is to suffer in the background until the hero arrives. They're free, technically, but they still live under a lord, pay taxes, and have to pray that nothing horrible happens this week. And in fantasy, something horrible always happens this week. Bad harvest? You starve. Bandits? You lose everything. Dragon? Congratulations, your house is now warm. Permanently. But this level is important because this is where most heroes start. Some random farm boy wakes up one day, finds out he has ancient blood, and suddenly everyone expects him to kill the Demon King. Imagine being poor and then getting homework from destiny. Skilled workers. Next, we have skilled workers. This is where life finally becomes a little less miserable. Blacksmiths. Tailors. Carpenters. Soldiers. Healers. Small shop owners. These people actually have skills, so they have more control over their life. A blacksmith in a fantasy world is not just some guy with a hammer. That man is basically the local weapons dealer, armor repairman, and emotional support character for every adventurer with a broken sword. And if he can make magic weapons, now he's important. Same with potion makers. In our world, pharmacists give you medicine. In fantasy, potion makers hand you a bottle and say, "This might heal you or turn your liver into soup. Good luck." This level isn't rich, but it's stable. You can eat. You can work. You can maybe save some coins. Unless an adventurer walks into your shop and says, "I'll pay you after I return from the dungeon." That man is not returning. Merchants. Now above them, we have merchants. This is where money starts becoming real power. Merchants don't swing swords. They don't fight monsters. They don't walk into dungeons. They pay other idiots to do that. And honestly, that's smarter. A merchant controls goods, food, weapons, armor, potions, magic scrolls, rare monster parts. If a knight needs a sword, he goes to a merchant. If a mage needs crystals, he goes to a merchant. If an adventurer needs 50 healing potions because he has no survival instinct, he goes to a merchant. Merchants might not have noble blood, but they have something almost better. Money. And money in fantasy can buy guards, information, rare items, and probably one morally questionable wizard. But they still have one problem. They're rich, but not untouchable. Because if a dragon attacks your trade caravan, you can't negotiate. Minor nobility. Now we reach minor nobility. This is where people stop asking for permission and start giving orders. Knights, barons, small lords. People who own land and act like that makes them better than everyone. And to be fair, in that world it kind of does. They collect taxes. They command guards. They live in estates or small castles. Not giant Disney castles, but still big enough to make peasants look at it and go, "Wow, my roof is made of sadness." Minor nobles are powerful in their region, but they're still not at the top. They answer to higher nobles. They obey kings. They get dragged into wars they didn't start. Basically, they're rich enough to be hated by peasants, but not rich enough to ignore politics. Very fancy chair, though. High nobility. Then we get to high nobility. Dukes. Grand dukes. Princes. The people who don't just own villages, they own entire regions. At this level, wealth becomes dangerous. Because now you don't just have money. You have armies, castles, political influence, marriage alliances, secret assassins, and a suspiciously attractive advisor who is definitely plotting something. High nobles don't just live in luxury, they live in paranoia. Every dinner could be poisoned. Every smile could be fake. Every family gathering is basically a chess match with better clothing. And in fantasy, you also have magic bloodlines. So one duke might control fire. Another controls ice. Another controls taxes, which is honestly the darkest magic of all. Royalty. Kings. Queens. Emperors. At this level, you don't have wealth. You are wealth. The kingdom's gold? Yours. The army? Yours. The land? Yours. The giant throne that looks extremely uncomfortable? Also yours. Royalty lives in massive palaces surrounded by guards, servants, advisors, and at least 3 people trying to betray them before breakfast. And in fantasy, royalty always has some extra nonsense attached. Chosen by the gods, descended from dragons, blessed by the moon, cursed by an ancient prophecy. You can't just be a normal king. No, you have to be King Alarion VII, bearer of the sun crown, blood of the first flame, and somehow still unable to stop goblins from attacking villages. Royalty is powerful, but it's also a trap. Because the moment you sit on the throne, everyone either wants your approval or your head. Divine level. And finally, we reach the highest level. The divine level. Immortals. Ancient beings. Creatures so powerful that money becomes completely meaningless. Because what does a god even buy? A bigger cloud? A second moon? Premium lightning? At this level, wealth is no longer coins or land. It's reality. A king can command an army. A god can delete the battlefield. And compared to them, even emperors look like children fighting over toys. So if we look at the full ladder, fantasy wealth is not just about who has the most gold. It's about freedom. A slave has none. A peasant has barely any. A skilled worker has some. A merchant has options. A noble has authority. A king has a nation. And a god has reality itself. That's why wealth in fantasy matters so much. Because it doesn't just change what you own. It changes what kind of story you're allowed to live.